the conclusion of Phase 1.
Yeah.
The Avengers.
Talk about a movie that was a big deal when it came out.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
It was the first time anything like that had really been attempted.
Yeah. It was it truly was like the teams coming together. But it had never really been, it had not truly been done on film before.
I mean, they attempted with Batman and Robin, I guess.
No. See, the difference is Marvel had like all of their own individual movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm talking about in terms of bringing a cast of superheroes together. I mean, you had the Fantastic Four, but the Fantastic Four is the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't each have their own individual movie. But this, especially at the time, was just so well executed. And for some reason, this movie, I remember, for the longest time, I remember watching it the first time, and I enjoyed it. And I think after rewatching it recently, I loved it so much. And I think the reason it kind of had just like an okay feeling for me was that I actually saw this movie for the first time like 2 or 3 weeks after it first came out. So all I was hearing was people literally telling me it was the best movie like of all time.
Well, I never thought it was the best movie of all time, but I do think I think it's the strongest Marvel movie up into in Phase 1. It's better than Iron Man. It's better than Hulk. It's better than Thor. It's better than Captain America. It's the best one.
And even that's what I'm saying is like even rewatching it it's nuts how like it still gives you that feeling of true excitement when they're all together.
Yeah.
Like you truly, they do a good job of almost making you feel like a little kid again.
Yeah.
Like just that true just wonderment of seeing like all of them together fighting.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
And I thought they did a good job in terms of the plot in it was pretty basic. I mean, it was
simple.
But I like the fact it was Loki.
Yes. See, that's what I was about to say is they clearly chose the best villain out of all Phase 1.
Yeah.
And they chose him to be the villain of Avengers, which, thank God. Because Loki stole the show personally for me in Thor, and he continues to just crush in Avengers. He's so good in this.
And we see Mark Ruffalo.
It's the first time we see Mark Ruffalo play the Hulk. And he does a perfectly fine job. I still wish I'd like to see Edward Norton. Yeah. But
I mean, Ruffalo's a good actor, and I like Mark Ruffalo, but it is kind of disappointing that they weren't able to patch things up with
Edward Norton.
Yeah.
I wish, but there's there was stuff happened there where it was just like they decided to go in the direction of Mark Ruffalo. But the plot, like you said, is extremely simple. Basically, Loki is able to come down to Earth. He gets power and control of the Tesseract, and basically creates a wormhole to try and bring Thanos' army, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's the Kree?
No, the Kree is Captain Marvel.
No, it's what were they called?
Oh, I don't know. I just knew it was just that army from space.
Yeah, but he promised them the Tesseract if they helped him conquer Earth.
Yeah. Which they were.
And he wanted to be like the king of Earth.
Which, and his plan wasn't bad. He just, I don't think he had planned on coming across the Avengers.
He didn't plan on the Avengers coming together. His whole deal was to break them up. That was like the whole.
Well, which was very clever.
It was very Joker-esque.
Yeah.
And it was very clever. Like
It actually did. That's a good point. Where he gets captured and Thor's like, he wouldn't just give in this easily.
Yeah.
Basically, they saw that he had a plan brewing, and it was very similar to what the Joker did in The Dark Knight, which was get captured on purpose.
Yeah.
And obviously, he escapes, which that whole sequence is pretty cool. But that's also it's the true unifying moment of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Because the glue of the whole team was basically Agent Coulson. And Loki kills Agent Coulson, and that's the moment where it was the shit just got real.
Yeah.
Moment. Yeah.
And it works.
Oh no, it does. Even though Nick Fury,
he kind of helps it along.
Kind of cheated. Kind
of helps it along with the cards, but had to be done.
Yeah. Oh no. I thought, do you think anyone's of the Avengers kind of stood out in this?
No, I mean, of course, you always find yourself kind of pulling for Captain America because he's a soldier. He's just trying to do what he's told.
And he's having to adjust to Tony Stark. This is his first true
But to say he steals a shit, that's no.
That's something else I think this movie did a pretty good job of, is no one like steals the show.
Yeah.
They all kind of have their equal kind of moments where it's a very well-rounded cast.
Yeah. Best moment in the movie though is I'm always angry. The trick is I'm always angry.
Yeah, I would say yes. And it's only because there's something so satisfying watching the Hulk just smash bad guys. And when he turns around, turns into the Hulk, and just crushes that like warship.
Yeah.
Except it's like
a creature?
Yeah, it's like this huge creature. But then he jumps and just starts taking off and just taking out people.
Yeah. And
it is so fun to just watch him just like uncontrolled rage.
Yeah.
And just destroy people.
Yeah.
And obviously
he's a loose cannon. They're just trying to point him in the right direction.
Yeah, basically they're like, just go this way.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye and Dr. Selvig, they get underneath. They're under Loki's like spell, and this was the first time you saw Hawkeye be Hawkeye.
Yeah.
In this movie is because about midway through the movie he basically Romanoff knocks him unconscious, which I guess knocks him out of the spell. Because that's the same thing happened to Dr. Selvig.
Yeah.
There was no like. They didn't like hypnotize it. It was just basically like we have to.
And it was funny the way she explains it. She was like, it was like some kind of trauma that she's like. What did she say? I hit you in the head.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And that's what she did.
She played it it was, but
seeing Hawkeye just be Hawkeye was
pretty cool. He's
nasty. He's so good.
And Jeremy Renner is.
No, he's an amazing actor.
Yeah,
he's so good in this part. And see, that was something that you do realize while watching this movie is that everyone was basically just like perfectly casted, and on top of that, they weren't just like perfectly casted; they're excellent actors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you could argue, especially at the time, Chris Hemsworth may not have been like the greatest actor, but he was casted pretty well. But that might be the only weak point you could argue. The rest of them are, solid, if not great actors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have Ruffalo, Downey, and Jeremy Renner have all been nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Like, they're excellent actors.
And then Chris Evans holds his own.
It's because he's perfect as Captain America.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so good. And to see them all together it was so satisfying. And I remember, and it's so weird looking back, especially knowing what the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done since then. Because I remember at the time thinking it felt, even though I was amped and excited to watch it, it did feel like a little bit overwhelming to see them all these characters come together.
Oh, and it's weird how, like you mentioned it last night.
The scope in this thing is so small comparatively speaking.
The first time you see it, you're like, this is a huge movie.
And you rewatch it, and it feels tiny.
Yeah, years later, you're just going, I mean...
There's only 5 characters.
Yeah.
And then when you're watching Civil War or Infinity War, and There's so many characters and so many storylines that you're having to pay attention to. The first Avengers, rewatching it, is very simple.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that this universe, that they've been able to craft this universe and still have you be able to follow everything. Because the first time you watch the Avengers, like I said, there was a bit of kind of feeling like, I don't know if I can follow all of this.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, you rewatch it, it's easy.
I will say, I like Joss Whedon's direction in this one.
It's his style. It's his style.
It's
like fun and funny. A lot of the comedy beats play well.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the last 30 minutes of this, like the action sequences in this movie are great, mainly because there's the action sequence in the middle where Hawkeye and company are trying to break Loki out of the container, which is on the S.H.I.E.L.D. warship.
And you have, the best part of that is the Hulk versus...
But yeah.
The Thor's trying to, like, control...
I wouldn't say calm. He's more of, like, he's trying to make sure... Because Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk, which is what they did not want to happen until absolutely necessary. And it happened at the worst time.
Yeah, and so he's, like, tearing the ship apart.
So Thor is having to, like, try and control him. And he's not doing a great job, but he's basically making sure the Hulk isn't injuring anyone else. And that scene is entertaining.
Yeah.
But, and then...
They're friends from work.
Oh, I know him! We're friends from work! But, like, that scene is awesome. Especially, I totally had forgotten about how they had to restart the engine.
Yeah.
Because one of the propellers was down. And how Tony Stark was like, all right, I'm going to do this on my own. And he basically, they rewire it and do all this stuff. And then Tony Stark...
Clear the debris.
He has to...
Like, jumpstart it, essentially.
By pushing it.
Yeah.
And he tells Cap, he's like, I'm going to be going around in a circle. But there's going to hit a point where I'm going to need you to pull a lever to slow it down so I can get out. And I forgot how funny it is where he's... And it's cool to see that he's going as fast as this propeller, which you can't even...
Yeah.
You can't see an individual blade. He's going as fast as that, and the propeller starts going faster than him, and he's like, Cap, now would be a great time.
Yeah.
And Cap's sitting there he's not getting the crap beat out of him, but
he's getting shot at.
Yeah, he's like, just give me a second, and he's like, I don't have a second, like, we gotta go. But that whole sequence is fun, but really the last 30 minutes of this movie is just an action sequence, and it really sets the tone for the future of a lot of these Marvel movies, specifically ones where there's a teaming up going on. Because that's something I noticed in Civil War and in Infinity War was, I mean, it feels, even though I love both those movies, it does feel like a lot of that movie, it's like if it's a 2.5 hour movie, it felt like an hour and a half of it's just an action scene.
Yeah.
And it really does get you used to a lot of this whole story development and developing of characters are kind of over. It's like, now we're just here to watch them do work.
Yeah. Which is great. And I like that they did that with these movies. Because you get your individual movies which develop the stories, which develop
these characters.
Which I think this is the reason we're doing these. Because it's well done.
Yeah. They took their time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's weird to think
Warner Brothers, if you're watching.
You should have done this instead of just by movie 3 have try and get them all together. Warner Brothers completely just rushed it.
Yeah.
And it's because they saw the success, they saw the success of Marvel and like,
even by movie 3. I mean, movie 3 was Justice League, but it was like Superman, Batman versus Superman, but we're going to introduce everyone.
Yeah, basically. And then, it was I think they were just like, they probably felt overwhelmed that like Marvel was already making so much money.
Yeah. And
they were like, if we introduce all these characters, then we can make their own individual movies. And it's like, just do it the other way around.
Yeah.
Because all those movies were going to make money anyway.
Yeah.
Take your time, introduce these characters, and then bring them together.
Yeah.
Because by the time the Justice League movie came around, like you didn't care about anyone. No. Like the only one you cared about was Superman. But at that time, at the beginning of the movie, he's not there.
He's not there, and then he's a bad guy. Anyway, that off of that movie and back on to Avengers.
No, but that's our point, is that this universe is so crazy, and I'm so glad we're doing this because it really does put me back in time to what I was thinking when these movies were coming out, and they have crafted these so well. I mean, yes, there may be parts that you can complain about, but it's astonishing what they've done. Mm-hmm. There are so many movies in this Marvel Cinematic Universe that they have made, and have all ended up connected and intertwined, and it's all resulting in one movie.
Yeah.
And it's nuts. It is crazy.
Yeah. And the fact that they were able to do it so successfully their first time. The Avengers,
there was not really a hiccup. If you could say anything was a hiccup, maybe Incredible Hulk. But even then, the Incredible Hulk was good. The only reason it's a hiccup is like none of those characters have.
Well, William Hurt comes back.
He does. He comes back in Winter Soldier and Civil War, I think.
Yeah, he's back in 2 of them, I think.
But it took him a while.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Hulk comes back, but it's Ruffalo.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason it's the hiccup is because they had to change actors.
They change actors,
and they almost kind of like they don't want to recognize that movie because they did change actors.
Yeah, but that's like the only thing.
Yeah.
And with 20 some odd, is it 21 movies?
Mm-hmm.
With 21 movies, and there's not. That's like your maybe your biggest hiccup. It's crazy. I don't know. I'm so glad we rewatched it because I haven't seen the first Avengers in a while, and while watching it, I was just like giddy, and I felt like such a little kid, and I had told
even this felt like it was like the origin movie for the Avengers. Like it was like how they became the Avengers, and you see them be the Avengers for like 30 minutes, but before, I mean, they're not the Avengers for most of the movie.
They're still on their individual, because they all kind of have their own. They're all going their own way, but it's because of Coulson's death.
Yeah,
that's when they're like, okay, there's something higher that we have to defeat. But yeah, man, I do really like this movie. And that's what I was saying when I first saw it. Not that I thought it was bad or anything, but I think I just had heard so many people like overhype it that I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I should have. And then upon rewatching it, it's almost like I love it even more now.
Yeah, it's good. I've said it for a while that it's one of the first Avengers is one of the best in this universe, in my opinion. It's in the upper tier.
I mean, we're like tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
So, and this is why I like rewatching these, is because you do.
I've seen the first Avengers.
I've seen it maybe like 3 times
because it was on Netflix for like 2 years.
Oh, see, I never watched it.
And you never watched it on Netflix. But that was like my thing to throw on in the background, just because it was so entertaining. And so I've seen that movie 10 times.
Okay.
I've seen the first Avengers a lot. And, I've probably sat down and watched it beginning to end 4 times.
So this was just see, that's why I noticed when we were watching it, there were so many lines that you would say before the line actually happened. And I guess I didn't ask you, but I remember thinking, like, how many times have you seen this movie?
Yeah.
Because this legitimately was probably, as far as sitting down and watching it, it's probably my 3rd time seeing it. And I guess, I don't know what it was this time that I loved it. I basically had as much fun watching it this time as I thought I should have had in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time watching it in theater, I remember thinking it was kind of long. It goes back to comparing it to what we know has ended up happening. This movie, it's simple, it's small, and it doesn't feel that long at all.
No.
And it's because if you compare it to Infinity War specifically, I mean, it's like
one thing after another after another after another.
It's a smaller movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Would you say there's like any negatives in this?
There are. I mean, you kind of get it with Joss Whedon, but there are some cheesy moments.
Yeah, I mean, that's his style.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they all those moments played pretty well.
There's little nitpicky things I could complain about, like I told you, I didn't, and this may seem blasphemous to a lot of people, but I liked when the Hulk picked up Loki and threw him around. I liked it. I didn't like that he said puny god. I would have preferred him to like almost give him a look and maybe like
a noise.
Yeah, like a noise. But I didn't like
grunt.
Yeah. Again, that's nitpicky, and that's just a personal opinion. Because I know a lot of people love that part.
Yeah.
Like, puny god. For some reason, it never hit me like I guess it did other people. Let's see. There really aren't a whole lot of negatives in this.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot.
I mean, it's good. It really is good.
The after credit scene, we see Thanos for the first time.
That's right. Yeah,
and it really doesn't come back until how many movies later?
Guardians, right? Would Guardians be the first time you see him
again? So that's 4 movies later, and then from there.
Do you see him in Thor 2 or like in the after credit scene of Thor 2?
I think they. You might.
I know for sure you see him in Guardians.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I'm like 95% sure, because in this it was just like you saw the side of Thanos' face.
It's the first time you
but it's not.
You don't hear Brolin talk.
Yeah, so. And I don't think it was Brolin. I don't think they had announced that Brolin was Thanos yet.
Yeah.
I know in Guardians it was.
But anyway, I mean, this movie.
Like when we watched it, I had no idea who Thanos. Because I'm not comic book. I don't follow comic books like that. So when they showed that guy, I was like, who is that?
I went to I saw this movie opening night. This was back when midnight movies were still a thing.
Yeah.
And I remember going to see it, and they showed Thanos, and I had no idea. And the theater like erupted, and I was like,
"Why?
What?" Like I had to go, look it up.
Look it up, yeah. And then you figure out who he is, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
So this is what
This is the direction they're going, clearly. Yeah. And it's just weird looking back, like how they just introduce tiny little things, and they're like, "That'll come back in like 4 movies from now." Like this, the vision that Marvel had.
Well, I think what really helped them...
They were patient. They were so patient.
They made so much money off the first, couple movies.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, we can do whatever we want, and we can reference stuff that we're not going to bring up for 4 movies, because people are going to fly to these movies.
We're basically...
printing our own money
Our toilet paper is Benjamin Franklin $100 bills. Like, that's how much money Marvel is making.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they knew. I feel like once they got to this one, they knew that making a whole universe and making as many movies as they want was not going to be an issue.
No.
So they were just like, let's start introducing stuff.
God.
And as it's gone on, they've hinted at. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, we see Howard the Duck.
But I figured that was more of like a joke.
Yeah.
Because technically the first Marvel movie ever was Howard the Duck, which is awful. It's so bad. I don't know. Now we can thank George Lucas because of his failure. He produced Howard the Duck. Because of his failure, he had to sell some of like his shares and some of his business, and part of that business was he sold Pixar to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So thank you, Howard the Duck. We now have almost flawless movies across the board. So, but that's what I'm saying is that that's what you were saying is that they show hint at certain characters. It's because they can.
Yeah.
They're like, we have all these rights. We can do whatever we want because we're Marvel.
And then this year they got back X-Men, and they got back they bought Fox, and it's kind of like, oh, we've got it all back now. Or at least they own enough of the rights to pretty much do...
If they introduce
I hope, because technically in this movie, in the timeline,
God.
He's still alive.
Maybe.
And Hugh Jackman's still jacked.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Huge Jack Man is his nickname.
And that would be awesome if we got to see. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I just don't see it. If it does, I will. You will audibly hear me poop my pants in the theater. I mean, it would happen. But we are getting off topic.
But no, we're not, because Avengers introduced us to that way of thinking. Like, what are we going to see?
Yeah,
it is.
And this is what's weird is that
this was the first movie where they brought them all together so successfully, and they hint. This was the first time that it was so many characters all into one. They pulled it off flawlessly, and they continue to pull it off, moving forward. And you're going, there's no limit anymore.
Yeah, and that's what's nuts. Is like, because Endgame is coming out, you're like, oh, you want these storylines to like end. You want it to, but I don't think Marvel would do that, because or would they? Because like you said, they have so many characters that they could just start their whole new, they go in a whole new direction.
I mean, you've got some that'll stay and some that'll go. But it will be interesting to see if anybody from this cast, from this first Avengers, it will be interesting to see.
I don't see it happening.
If any of them continue going forward.
I just don't see it. I mean, as much as I'm sure they love rolling around in money.
The thing is, how much more can you explore with each character?
Yeah. I can understand some of these characters have been introduced a lot later.
Like, I know maybe
Black Panther or even Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
I assume, although I'm assuming both of those are going to
keep
going.
But these original Avengers, I mean, think about it.
My deal is, as much as I like Thor Ragnarok, I don't know how much more they can do. At this point, he's got all his powers.
Yeah.
He's kind of gone through.
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff you can explore, but it's like, I just don't see these actors wanting to just stay playing these characters forever.
Yeah, and even though the reason I bring that up is Thor. I mean, Thor's not going to die.
Does he? I mean, he's a god, so I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I think out of all the characters, I mean, I guess you could see Thor maybe making appearances in movies down the road.
I truly think this original cast, while they loved probably being a part of this whole experience, I could see them saying, we're done.
Well, I mean, we know Chris Evans is done. We know.
He announced.
It was like a deal like that.
He was like,
but people have seen that coming for a while now. There's been questions on whether he was reprising the role for the past several movies. Pretty much since Age of Ultron.
No. I wouldn't say that. It was like he signed his original deal. I think was like 3 movies, but I think as it went on, people just knew. Like, I think he saw how big it was that it was like for sure he was gonna just stay on. But that brings up it's these characters as we know them are probably they're probably gonna be gone.
Yeah. And
it's cool to see, like, this movie was the first time you saw them fighting together.
Yeah, it really was, and it will be kind of sad. Like, and the only way you're gonna be able to revisit is just to watch them again.
Yeah, and this is why I thoroughly have enjoyed going back through these. They're highly enjoyable movies, and it's a very kind of surreal to think like. This has been going on for like 10 years.
It's been going on so long that that's the reason I'm talking about it's going to be kind of sad to see him go, because for the longest time, like, you just expected to see him in every movie. Like, you've grown. It's like watching a long-running TV show and then to watch it
go. It's the finale.
Yeah.
It's crazy. God, man. I don't know. I think overall because before Iron Man was a good movie. It was very good. And then the rest of them... Iron Man was very good.
Yeah.
The rest of them were, like, solid. even like Captain America was probably the better received out of the rest of the origin stories, but it was like considered solid. And then Avengers came out, and this was when people were like, "Oh, this is really good."
Yeah.
It was something.
I still don't think it competes with. Honestly, I still don't know if Marvel's reached the Nolan Batman level yet.
But it's just
it's
two totally different tones, man.
Yeah.
Like
that being said, this is a good movie. Like this
if
is
talking about
solid.
superhero movies,
Great.
Ooh,
because we can't rank them yet, but
we're just gonna
go in terms of Phase 1. This is
this is the best movie of Phase 1. See, this is the problem. Because if we're talking comparatively speaking, I think there are a couple Marvel movies I would put above this one. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you wanted to put it like in tiers,
we'll do that later. Just give this one a movie, and you can put like.
Are we talking regularly or
just regular? No, all of these we're just doing regular.
Regular, I would probably give this an A- because there are still some of those moments that are a little cheesy that. Sometimes they landed and then sometimes it wouldn't land for me, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go A- as well.
Okay,
but I mean, this is in the grand scheme of movies. An A.
It's great.
That's
it's
a
good.
Solid score.
It's a
grade. Solid grade.
I thought you were talking about the score of the movie. I was like,
no.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was. It was like it's been known.
Yeah.
The rest of the Avengers movies use them.
Yeah.
But.
No, I mean this is a solid. That's a solid.
Yeah,
grade.
No,
this stacks up. There's only several movies in this Marvel universe, in my opinion, that stack up with the first.
There's a couple. Yeah, I would say roughly 3 or 4 that I think I would probably put above this one.
And even if we're ranking them above this one, I wouldn't put it like above. It's like
no.
It's just like one step up.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's like if I had rated this before we rewatched it, I'd probably give it like a B. I'm telling you, I don't know what it was that in my mind I always was just like, yeah, I mean it was good, like it was fun, it was entertaining, and for some reason this time around it like got me.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, man, it's
good.
It's really good.
A- from both of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.